This is his event. He's responsible for what people are saying and doing.
I'm going to now read you an unhinged text message that Charlie received, this time from a female Christian donor, Zionist, of course.
Candace Owens just dropped a major revelation about a powerful TPUSA donor who went after Charlie Kirk in a shocking way, and the mainstream outlets are staying completely silent about it. The woman's name is Lorie Moore, and once you hear how she acted, unhinged doesn't even come close. Before diving into political activism, Lorie spent over 2 decades in the entertainment world, doing everything from romance hotline ads to car tire commercials. But things took a sharp turn in 2003 after she went on a sponsored trip to Israel, because from that moment on, she transformed completely and began targeting anyone who didn't agree with her outspoken agenda. Now here's where it gets wild. Lorie has made a name for herself by preaching about biblical foundations to Christians everywhere. But listen closely to her speeches and you'll notice something strange. For someone who presents herself as a strong believer, she avoids saying the words Christ or Jesus. That's not just odd, it's unsettling. Especially for someone claiming to speak on faith while using her influence to silence anyone who challenges her views. What's even more shocking is how fast this story is being buried. It's like someone wants the world to forget that Lorie allegedly sent threatening messages to Charlie Kirk. But people are paying attention now, because what Candace Owens uncovered practically proves that those dismissed as conspiracy theorists might have been onto something all along. Candace isn't backing down either. She's been digging deep into what really happened behind the scenes of Charlie Kirk's passing, and her newest reveal involves a seriously unsettling text from a TPUSA donor who warned Charlie to be careful. The details are chilling, and even though Candace didn't drop the name at first, she gave just enough hints for the internet to connect the dots. And all signs led straight to Lorie Moore. Once people started comparing the mysterious message to Lorie's public videos and interviews, the similarities were impossible to ignore. The phrasing, the tone, even the way the word God was written, it all matched perfectly. That's when things exploded online.
This is Lorie from Daystar TV.
Mr. Prime Minister, it is an honor to be here, sir. What would you say to those Christians who are praying for you, for Sarah, for your family, for the nation of Israel? What would you like to say to them, sir, in fighting, helping you fight and combat?
After the evidence spread, Candace went back on air and addressed Lorie directly, calling her out by name. She didn't hold back either, saying Lorie represents a growing crowd of performers pretending to be devout while using religion as a tool to confuse genuine believers about what the Bible actually teaches. It's wild, and the deeper you look, the more contradictions start to surface. So who exactly is Lorie Moore, and why has her name suddenly become such a hot topic? According to the Jerusalem Post, she was ranked number 2 on their list of top 10 Christian Zionists, and that alone already raises eyebrows. But once you start looking closer at who she really is and what she does, things start to feel off. Lorie calls herself a Christian Zionist, but her actions tell a very different story. Just check her social media. On all 3 of her verified accounts, you won't find a single mention of the words Christ or Jesus. Not once. How does someone claim to be deeply Christian yet never talk about the central figure of their faith? That's strange, to say the least. When she's not making headlines for her outbursts, Lorie runs an organization called Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. On their website, they say their mission is to fight global anti-Semitism. But here's the catch. This same group was once listed as a hate organization by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And when you listen to Lorie's speeches, it becomes a little clearer why that label was ever applied in the first place. She also homeschooled all 5 of her kids, and her reasoning says a lot about her mindset. She claims she did it to shield them from what she called anti-Judeo-Christian influence in public schools. Yet when people look into her own background, her academic and professional credentials don't really match the authority she presents herself with. Everything about her story seems carefully built to project power and moral superiority. But once the layers start to peel back, the inconsistencies are impossible to ignore. And here's where it gets even more twisted, because Lorie Moore isn't just some random donor in the background.
So I went to Israel actually in 2002 because my background is not only television, movies, theater, acting, what have you.
She's been quietly moving through powerful circles for years, influencing major political and religious figures while playing both sides of the fence. On the surface, she presents herself as this patriotic, faith-driven advocate, but behind the scenes, her behavior and alliances paint a completely different picture. Let's start with how she got that influence. Lorie's organization, Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, PJTN, isn't just a small nonprofit like she wants people to believe. It's been used as a vehicle for massive networking, like connecting donors, politicians, and media personalities. And here's the interesting part. When you track her public events, she's always standing next to high-profile conservative names, smiling for the cameras, making sure she's seen as part of the inner circle. But when things go wrong or controversies hit, she vanishes, deleting posts, rebranding, and acting like none of it ever happened. Now, remember that threatening message Candace Owens exposed, the one sent to Charlie Kirk? Well, once people online started matching the phrases in that text to Lorie's own speeches, the similarities were almost copy-paste. The same odd phrasing, the same capitalizations, and even her way of addressing God looked identical. It was like she couldn't even hide her own writing style. That's what made people stop and go, wait a minute, this wasn't random. And what's truly wild is that Lorie didn't deny it. She didn't even try to clear her name directly. Instead, she doubled down, posting more fiery statements online about how true believers are being attacked and persecuted as if she's the victim here. That's her entire playbook: create chaos, play holy, then cry persecution when the spotlight hits her. Her story also ties back to the inner struggles happening inside Turning Point itself after Charlie Kirk's passing. Multiple insiders have quietly said that certain donors began behaving differently, demanding more control, pushing harder for ideological purity, and even hinting at cleaning house. Lorie fits right into that timeline. Around the same time, she started posting aggressively about reclaiming leadership and standing up to corruption, using phrasing that mirrored the tone of that threatening text sent to Charlie. It's eerie how perfectly it lines up. Now let's talk about her public persona versus private reality.
When I was there in Bethlehem, many people, leaders and regular folks, came, when we asked them, said, "We believe Jesus was a Palestinian." What do you say to that?
This is the anti-Semitic movement that we have seen rising around the globe. This is an opportunity for these false prophets, these heretics, to preach a false gospel message, to deny Israel its right to that.
Lorie loves to present herself as this calm, motherly figure who just wants to educate Christians about their duty to Israel and the Bible. But when you actually watch her interviews or read her newsletters, she's far from calm. Her tone often flips between preacher and drill sergeant, like she's rallying people to fight some invisible war. And every time she's questioned or challenged, she immediately deflects, accusing others of being anti-faith or enemies of the truth. Her messaging has also been suspiciously aligned with certain powerful lobbying interests. She's been seen promoting talking points that mirror language coming from overseas groups and US-based organizations tied to foreign policy advocacy. And yet she continues to insist she's just a mom from Tennessee doing God's work. But moms from Tennessee don't usually have direct lines to media executives, political strategists, and wealthy donors. Lorie does. And that's what makes people wonder who's really backing her mission. Then there's the bizarre pattern of her projects disappearing right after scrutiny begins. In the past 5 years, several of her media initiatives and documentary efforts have quietly vanished after questions were raised about funding and accuracy. The websites go offline, her old videos are scrubbed, and new branding suddenly appears. Same people, different name. It's a classic tactic, rebrand to outrun controversy. And when you put all of this together, the threatening messages, the public preaching, the selective outrage, and the constant reinvention, it starts to look less like a faith-based movement and more like a calculated campaign to control narratives from behind the scenes. But here's where it gets even darker. Some of the people who worked with Lorie in her early activism years have spoken out anonymously. They describe her as obsessive, image-obsessed, and power-hungry. One even said she was known for making veiled threats against anyone who questioned her loyalty or her authority. These aren't wild rumors. These are people who were part of her inner circle, who watched her flip personalities depending on who was in the room. And if that sounds dramatic, look at her record. She's been publicly accused of targeting educators, school boards, and community leaders who didn't align with her worldview. She's filed petitions, launched boycotts, and pressured networks to silence opposing voices.
Almost like they just hired a bunch of actors to pretend to be Christians. That's the vibe that you start to get when you realize this is the only thing they care about. This is all they care about. And they will rant and they will rave and they will scream at you. And in case you are wondering why so many of them seem to have these extensive acting backgrounds, you can look no further than Lorie Moore.
It's all under the banner of faith activism, but it functions exactly like political intimidation. What makes all this even more haunting is how it connects back to Charlie Kirk's story. Because according to several insiders, Charlie had become frustrated with certain donors who were crossing lines, trying to steer Turning Point in directions he didn't agree with. He reportedly felt some were acting out of personal vendettas rather than genuine belief. And it's within that tension that Lorie's alleged message arrived, warning him to be careful. Was it a warning, a threat, or a test of loyalty? That's what nobody can seem to agree on. But one thing is clear, and it wasn't just an innocent note. People who've seen the message said it had an unmistakable tone of menace disguised as spiritual concern. And once again, it carried her trademark writing quirks, those capitalized divine references and vague prophetic warnings. When Candace Owens spotlighted that message, it blew the lid off something much bigger than a single text. It exposed a pattern, how faith, politics, and power have become tangled in a way that blurs all accountability. And the name at the center of that knot just happens to be Lorie's. Even now, she's doubling down on her social media platforms, painting herself as a victim of slander and spiritual warfare, claiming she's being targeted because she speaks the truth. But the irony is, the more she says that, the more attention she draws, and the more people start connecting the dots she's desperately trying to erase. If this really is how deep her influence goes, from private donors to public figures, from social media manipulation to whispered warnings, then this isn't just a personal feud. It's a glimpse into how far some will go to protect their power under the guise of faith. And as this story keeps unfolding, one thing's certain: Lorie Moore's name won't be fading from the headlines anytime soon. Now that Lorie Moore's name has come up in connection with all of this, things have started to spiral fast, because the deeper people dig into her background, the more they uncover patterns that look anything but accidental.
Charlie Kirk, are you out of your mind? I've read my Bible, and I know I better be, because in Genesis 12:3, God told Abram, I will bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. And he who ignores you, Israel, I will utterly destroy. He told the prophet Obadiah that in the last days, I think we can all agree we're living in the last days, in the last days, he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by Charlie Kirk while their brothers were held in captivity.
She's built an empire based on influence, and she knows exactly how to use religion, emotion, and fear to pull the right strings. Every move she makes feels calculated, like she's running a long game that nobody noticed until now. Let's break it down. Lorie's public image is wrapped up in her mission to defend biblical truth and protect Judeo-Christian values. But behind that slogan sits a complex network of media connections, political ties, and high-profile friendships that give her enormous reach. She's appeared on religious talk shows, political panels, and international broadcasts, always positioning herself as the brave truth teller. Yet, if you look closer, there's a repeated theme. She always finds a way to make herself the center of every issue. And when people question her motives, she flips it instantly. Suddenly, she's the victim of attacks, claiming her critics are enemies of faith. It's the same tactic she's used for years. Control the conversation by playing the role of the persecuted believer. But here's where things take an even sharper turn. Lorie isn't just talking, she's organizing, she's fundraising, she's building networks that mix religion with politics so tightly that it's hard to see where one ends and the other begins. Remember her group, Proclaiming Justice to the Nations? It's not just about awareness or education, it's about access. That organization has opened doors for her to meet with foreign officials, government leaders, and major U.S. donors. She uses her faith-driven messaging as a bridge to power, framing herself as the moral compass of every cause she touches. But behind the curtain, it's a carefully crafted PR machine built to give her influence wherever it counts most, in politics, media, and money. Now let's talk about the reaction inside turning point circles. Once Candace Owens put the pieces together and pointed the spotlight in Lorie's direction, something strange happened. Suddenly, insiders started going quiet. Some began deleting old tweets. Others claimed they had no comment. And the weirdest part? Certain turning point accounts started subtly distancing themselves from her, removing her name from event lists and partner pages. It's like they were preparing for fallout before the storm even hit. People who followed Lorie's rise say this is nothing new.
This is a real message. Andrew Kovac can confirm it's real. Eric Kirk can confirm it's real, that Charlie Kirk received this. Let's read this, okay? All of the people that trusted you, Jews and Christians, including me, why would you platform anti-Semites like Candace and Tucker? There are many evangelical Christian Zionists who would never give these people the opportunity to spew their hatred. I'm one of them. You say people are accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli government? Well,
whenever controversy hits, she lies low for a while, rebrands her image, and then reemerges as if nothing happened. It's a rinse and repeat pattern she's mastered. But this time might be different, because this time her name isn't being whispered in small circles. It's being dissected in public by huge audiences who aren't buying the polished facade anymore. And here's the thing. Lorie has always been strategic about aligning herself with the most powerful voices in conservative movements. She knows how to make herself useful. Need a fiery speaker to rally a crowd? She's there. Need someone to appear on Christian networks and deliver emotional sound bites about spiritual battles? She's on it. Need to stir up donors? She'll do it better than anyone. She thrives in environments where outrage equals attention because attention is currency. But when Charlie Kirk started making his own moves and pushing back against certain donor influences, that's where the tension reportedly began. According to people who knew him, Charlie had grown frustrated with some figures trying to steer Turning Point in a direction he didn't agree with. He wanted independence, not control. And that's exactly the kind of thing that would threaten someone like Lorie, who depends on staying connected to powerful networks. So when that mysterious message came in, the one that told him to be careful, it didn't feel random anymore. It felt targeted. And after comparing the language of that message with Lorie's own online style, the similarities were too strong to ignore. Even her signature way of writing about divine purpose and judgment sounded eerily similar. It's almost like whoever sent that message wanted Charlie to know where it came from without having to sign a name. The public reaction has been explosive. People who once saw Lorie as a respected voice are now re-examining everything she's ever said. Clips of her old interviews are circulating again, and every sentence is being analyzed for hidden meaning. The way she smiles when she talks about divine justice, the way she pauses before mentioning obedience, the way she avoids directly naming Christ, it's all getting attention now. And as all this unfolds, Lorie has doubled down, posting messages about standing firm in the storm and never bowing to lies.
What is it exactly that you disagree with? You threatened Jews and Christians with your 30 million followers. Are you kidding? Be very careful, Charlie. You are in violation of the 9th commandment by bearing false witness against your brother Judah. When was the last time you read your Bible, Charlie? I'm coming to you as a believer. Genesis 12:3. Obadiah and many more prophets warn that those who curse Israel will be cursed. Your TPUSA Tampa event was a disaster. Michelle Bachmann was booed, and about 10% walked out on her when she talked about standing with Israel.
To her followers, that sounds noble, but to outsiders, it sounds like deflection. Like she's trying to turn public scrutiny into a test of faith. It's smart because it keeps her supporters emotionally invested. Instead of asking questions, they rally around her, convinced she's being attacked for speaking truth. Meanwhile, Candace Owens continues to peel back layers of this story, and each new detail only makes the picture messier. It's not just about one donor anymore. It's about the system of influence, how money, faith, and power collide behind closed doors. Lorie just happens to be the perfect example of how far some will go to keep control over that system. What's wild is how people are now uncovering Lorie's other ventures that most never heard of. She's tried producing films, writing books, even launching media networks all centered around biblical justice. Yet none of them last long because controversy always finds her. Critics, journalists, and even some of her former allies have quietly described her as someone who can't stand not being in control. Once she loses that control, she lashes out, labeling everyone who disagrees as corrupt or spiritually blind. That same mindset explains why her organization has gone through so many ups and downs. The branding changes, the sudden leadership shifts, the financial questions that pop up and disappear. All of it points to someone who thrives in chaos as long as she's the one steering it. It's not just faith or politics anymore, it's identity. Being in the center of it all is who Lorie is. And now, with Candace Owens and countless others questioning her role in the events surrounding Charlie Kirk's final months, Lorie's entire image is cracking. For someone who's spent years shaping public perception, losing control of her own narrative must be terrifying, because once the spotlight turns, all the things she's kept hidden, the motives, the manipulations, the patterns, start becoming visible. The truth is, Lorie Moore isn't just part of a controversy. She is the controversy.
You brag about how you convinced all these young voters to vote for Trump, but you can't convince them to stand with our Jewish brethren. This is not a joke, Charlie. I'm coming to you as a sister in faith. You have accomplished so much by the hand of the Almighty, but He is going to lift His hand from you. Don't fall for Tucker, Candace, and the rest. The Jews are under attack. God warns us in the last days that He will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brothers, Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. don't be counted among the Edomites. It will be to your peril, as well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you.
Every headline, every debate, every thread online keeps circling back to her. And no matter how many times she tries to reframe the story, the questions don't go away. Who really sent that message to Charlie? Why did she use those specific phrases? And what was she trying to warn him or threaten him about? Those answers might take time to surface, but one thing's certain. Lorie's role in this saga has shifted from background donor to central figure, whether she likes it or not. And as more evidence and testimonies come forward, the line between faith and manipulation keeps blurring right in front of everyone's eyes. Turns out Lorie's doctorate isn't what it seems at all. She's been proudly introducing herself as Dr. Lorie Moore. But when you dig a little deeper, the truth hits different. That fancy-sounding degree? It's just an honorary theology title from the Latin University of Theology, an institution widely criticized for being an unaccredited diploma mill. That means it's not an earned academic degree, just a symbolic title handed out for recognition. And when you check real records, according to Chalkbeat Tennessee, the only legitimate qualification Lorie actually holds is an associate degree in film and dramatic arts from the KD Conservatory College in Dallas. So now it starts to make sense. Lorie isn't just passionate, she's performing. Everything about her background points back to acting. The dramatic speeches, the rehearsed emotions, the over-the-top delivery, it's all giving performance, not sincerity, which brings us to the question that's on everyone's mind. Is Lorie Moore just another actress still playing a role? Only this time the stage is political and spiritual influence? And it gets even more unsettling when you remember what Candace Owens revealed, that chilling message sent to Charlie Kirk just before his passing. If Lorie really was behind that, why isn't anyone digging deeper? Why hasn't this been properly investigated? The silence is deafening. People who once brushed off the whole situation as rumor are now realizing something doesn't add up. Online, the theories are multiplying fast. Some think Lorie's influence stretches further than anyone imagined.
You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America.
That she's tied into a much larger network of people using faith as a tool to manipulate and intimidate. Others believe she's simply a self-promoter who went too far, lost control of her own game, and now can't backtrack. Either way, what's happening around her feels less like religious activism and more like a cult of personality growing in real time. And the strangest part, the more questions people ask, the more her supporters double down. They defend her like she's untouchable, quoting her words like scripture and attacking anyone who doubts her. It's eerie, because the louder the defense, the clearer it becomes that something isn't right. The energy around all of this doesn't feel like faith anymore. It feels like obsession. We've watched Lorie go from a former actress to one of the most controversial religious figures on the scene, and through it all, she's managed to stay right in the middle of the chaos. Whether she's orchestrating it or just caught in it, one thing's undeniable. This story has gone from strange to straight up alarming. If what's being uncovered is true about her background, her influence, and those messages to Charlie, then we might be looking at something far darker than anyone first realized. It's not just about religion or politics anymore. It's about control, image, and power. And honestly, the whole situation is starting to feel like a movie where the actors forget they're acting, except this isn't fiction and real people's lives are being affected. Every day, new clips, screenshots, and testimonies pop up online, and it's only a matter of time before the full picture comes out. This isn't just another scandal, it's a story that keeps pulling back layers, showing how easily influence can hide behind faith and good intentions. Because if Lorie really did cross that line, even indirectly, then it changes everything we thought we knew about who's really pulling strings behind the scenes. So what happens next? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this saga isn't over, and the more people keep digging, the harder it'll be for anyone to cover it up. If you want to stay updated as this story keeps unfolding, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts below. Because trust me, there's more coming and you don't want to miss what's next. See you on the next one.